Hi everyone. I said I'd be back, and I am. Slightly different background, as you can see, a little bit closer, and I've got my wolf skin. It isn't. It's a Shetland sheepskin. It's an Orkney sheepskin, and it's really beautiful, but it's so dark, and it makes me feel that it is a wolf. And it also makes me laugh because it's not a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's a sheep in wolf's clothing. And I thought that when I found it when we were up on Orkney, and I bought it for that. And now it sits beside me, and I really enjoy it. Well, as I said I'll be back, and I've got some stuff I want to talk to you about. And how am I gonna start this? Well, I'll start this because, well, here I am in my rocking chair. Will rock. It'll make horrible noises to the microphone, but never mind. And actually, it's my granny's rocking chair. And a friend of mine had a laugh because I was talking to her about it earlier this afternoon. And she said, "Yeah, hey, there's Ellen. She's talking rocking horse shit again." And I probably am. But on the other hand, rocking horse shit is magic. And it's what we all do, even if we don't know we do it. And it's not the least bit like Harry Potter. So here I am, possibly talking rocking horse shit. And my friend had also asked me, and this is what set it all off. She said to me, "What will I get, Ellen, if I learn badassery?" As you probably know, I call myself a badass coach. And I am. And I probably started off doing all that and being quite badass myself. Wicked. But very truthful and very me. So my friend said, "What am I going to get by learning badassery?" So, what did I say? I told her there are 5 basic points of badassery. That's boundaries, confidence, self-worth, freedom, and joy. I said, "Go on then, I like it. Tell me some more." I've got some notes here, so I'm going to be looking at them every now and again, because knowing me, I shall forget where I am. It's the sort of thing I do. I expect you do too. So, there we are. So, there are these 5 things. And my friend said, "Yeah, I like it. So tell me some more." So I told her a story. And it begins when I was little, long ago. I was just 5 and I was just first going to school. And it was a bit weird because on my first day, I discovered not everyone has an Uncle Jack. And not only that, even if they've got one, their Uncle Jack can't call a wild hawk down to his fist. And their Uncle Jack doesn't sit with a poisonous adder snake round his wrist and stroking it while it sleeps. Mine did. It was a shock. It was a shock knowing that they didn't have this. But what was a much worse shock was their reaction. That was scary because, of course, they laughed at me and they ridiculed me. And I had to learn to grow up in 5 minutes at age 5. I had to learn to grow up. I had to learn to keep my head well down below the parapet, not talk about things like that, and sort of join in with them, with the sort of things that they were interested in, and not the sort of things that I'd grown up with and that make my heart sing. Yep, that that was rough. And like many of us, I'm a quick learner and I never forgot. But they caused me a lot of problems, that first initial experience, because it meant that I lived all the rest of my life. And there are times when I still do it now, not daring to come out and be the real me, not daring to be this woman who had an Uncle Jack, who easily talked to wild hawks and poisonous snakes. So there I was with this shitload of problems. And there I was, not being able to be me for ages and ages. So, does that ring bells for you? It may well do. Maybe you didn't have a magical Uncle Jack, or maybe they didn't seem magical to you, or they don't seem magical to you now. But most of us have had these problems, these things that happen where people have squashed us, squished us, sat on us, put us down, ridiculed us. And we've gone, oh, and shot back in our shell, not wanting to come out. So that's really important. Now, years later, after I was 5, like 30 or so years later, I found the author Richard Bach. Some of you may know him. And I found his first book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, which is still well worth a read. There's lots of wisdom in there. And I really liked what he had to say. So I started reading all of his books. And later on, in one called something like The Confessions of a Reluctant Messiah, which I just adore the title. In The Confessions of a Reluctant Messiah, he says, "You teach best what you most need to learn." When I read that, it was like, a real shock. A real like, ooh, in your face. Because it took me back to this problem that I've always had of being the full, real, badass me with crazy uncles and all sorts of other weird things. And how I don't do it, or didn't do it then, is to keep my head down, well below the parapet. Good idea. I worked for the civil service. They didn't tend to do magical uncles terribly well. So that was fine, but I learned a lot from Richard Bach's books. And then later, a few years later, I got very, very sick. I got rheumatoid arthritis. You can still see it in my hands. It's in every bone in my body. And I've had it since that long ago. And I'm very used to it now. I know how to work with it. And there are things I can't do, but I can do lots of others as well. But it was so bad then. I mean, I could only go 2 stops on the tube to get in and into work in the morning without needing to get off and be sick. That doesn't help. So I got medically retired. And I got a super job at the time, one I really enjoyed. I was a software boffin, designing software, designing relational databases and things like the internet in the civil service then. And I got retired from that. A job that I really enjoyed, kept me alive. Well, kept me alive. It made life joyful. And what was worse, I was dancing at the time. I was actually dancing with a friend who taught for Arlene Phillips at Pineapple in London. And I was the demonstrator there when we were teaching the class. So 6 days a week, 2 hours each night. I was dancing. I was so fit and absolutely singing. I absolutely loved it. You know, dance still really makes my heart sing, makes me really want to breathe. But rheumatoid arthritis, you can't do that. You can hardly bloody move, certainly at first, until they start getting all the medication and everything else right. And you do as well. So I lost it pretty well overnight. And that damn near killed me. It certainly beat the shit out of my spirit. And I really did consider suicide at that time. It was my cats that stopped me. I really was going to do it. And they just came and lay on me. And, well, I'm still here. Thank you, cats. So there I was, stuck. I got nothing to do, nothing fun to do. And I was used to doing fun things. And two fun things, which I absolutely loved doing. So how was I going to do this? How was I going to live? Well, that all happened at a right moment for me. I met this person, I went to this lecture, and I met this person who was talking about transpersonal psychology. And I can't now remember what he said, but it was completely amazing. And his whole energy was fantastic as well. And I mean, from my memory now, he could have been reading the telephone directory. I know he wasn't, and I can get this back, but I was so stunned, so taken. I just galloped out of my chair at the end of the lecture and ran up to the front and said, "Where do I do this? How do I sign on? I want to do this." So I did, and I started what became my second degree. And I became a transpersonal psychotherapist. That's fun. That is amazing. And add in, which was really fantastic, I found that it fitted, the whole way of the transpersonal fitted like a glove with all the old magic ways that I was brought up in by my family. So I got this happening. It was great. So it took me further. And I tried working with other teachers as well. You tend to do things more broadly when you take a degree when you're older. And so I was trying other things and working other things as well. And I just could not find teachers who didn't frighten me. All the teachers that I went to work with, or nearly all of them, they scared me. And it felt like being right back at school at 5 when those other kids had ridiculed me. And I had hidden and become a people pleaser in order to survive at school. I thought, you can't be doing this. This is not on. So I kept away from them. I still do. I still run across people who do that now, still do it. And I just move, get out of the way. My boundaries are good enough. And it's like, no, we're not going there. But watching them sometimes and being there, you know, getting the feel, that bad feel, that really teaches me things too, because it teaches me and it shows me, don't you go doing that with your people. Don't you go doing that, Ellen, not with your people. And so, please the gods, I don't. If I do, I've got every reason to bite you, and that's fine. But it teaches you by experience. So when I get clients, which I often do, who don't have their own voice, don't know themselves, can't be their real selves because they just don't know how to, and they've got so stuffed and squished all their lives, I can talk with them from experience. I'm not talking out of a book. I'm not talking because I learned it on a course or in my degree or anything like that. I'm talking to them because I've got a similar feeling with you, if you have it. And that feeling connects us. So I can respond to the client, to you, from reality and not from a book. And so an underlying thing, the underlying thing really, that I do in programs, with one-to-one clients, everything, is I'm helping people find their own voice, as I did. Not in the same way, but I've got lots of suggestions. Try this, try this, try this. And they'll usually, well, they always find at least one of them works, and usually there's 3 or 4 things. Oh, that helped. Oh, that helped. Because it comes from experience. I learned to find my voice through stories, through telling and writing stories, which I love to do. And as you know, I'm a best-selling author as well. I just finished my 3rd novel and I'm deeply into my 4th already. And I love telling the stories, but the stories, they've always got all of this inside them. The characters are learning. And so I'm showing difficult situations and the characters are learning. But it comes from my experience. I'm writing from reality that I have experienced. And I'm not scared of telling it how it is because I've got my voice and I'm happy with that. And so I help you to find your story, to find your voice, and to tell your story. We often do it out loud to each other, especially in programs where there's several of us. And it's very scary for people the first time. And then they do it. And we're all sitting there going, wow, that was amazing. Thank you for that. And we will learn from each other's stories. And that's really important too, because when you're telling your story to somebody, there will always be these connections, these things that ring bells across. So we will help each other by doing it together and by saying how scared we are, and then by saying how amazed we were when we did the work, when we actually did it. So that's sort of taken me to Find Your Voice. My Find Your Voice program begins in February. Get on my website, join up, you'll love it. 10 weeks. You'll be amazed at how much you've got by the end of 10 weeks and how much stronger and more confident you feel. And actually how much more joyful you feel too. Because once you get that confidence and that you've got good boundaries, so you can say, no, I'm not going there. Or yes, come in. And you have the boundaries not to tread on other people as well, because your boundaries, and you can feel theirs, so you're good with those. You know your own worth. You've told your story, and you've told it to yourself, and you've told it to your friends who are all supporting you. So you know who you are. And you come out of there, and you can then be that person. Because it's being that person that makes your life sing, and makes your business sing, and that makes your heart sing. So, how about it, people? Get on my website, look up Find Your Voice, easy to find, and join up. get yourself ready for February, and then we can start. And I'm going to really enjoy working with you. So do come and join me, and let's all tell our stories. Let's all find our voices and let them sing. Well, that's enough rocking horse shit for you today. And I shall be back soon with some more. Not quite sure what it'll be. In fact, I haven't got a clue what it'll be yet because it's always different each time. So I shall see you all again very soon. And sat in my rocking chair. And I'll tell you some more rocking horse shit. So take care. Sign on. Find your voice. I'll see you all again soon. Bye.